Good day and welcome back to another DBZ Dokkan Battle video. In this video we are going to be taking a look at the Strength Final Form Cooler that has just come to DBZ Dokkan Battle as a part of the worldwide celebration campaign. So we're going to be taking a look at Cooler and we're going to be seeing just how good he is in DBZ Dokkan Battle at 55%. So Cooler is slightly different, it seems, to Goku. Obviously the big draw or the big appeal of Goku is his defensive and his guarding capabilities, whereas with Cooler we're looking at a much more offensive orientated unit that does take a small amount of time to get going. But we're going to see just how good he is. Don't really think he'll have that big an issue, but it'll be interesting to see. So first, leader skill. Leader skill is pretty decent, terrifying conquerors or movie bosses, and an additional 30% for characters who belong to Transformation Boost. Transformation Boost does include quite a few decent characters from both categories, so overall you got a pretty nice leader skill. Nothing crazy, but pretty good. Greatly raises defense for 1 turn on his 12 key, which is brilliant, and on his 18 key raises attack. Now you'll activate his entrance animation and launch an additional attack that has a medium chance of becoming a super attack for 3 turns when there's another terrifying conquerors category ally. He also has key +5 and attack and defense of 100%, with an additional key +1 up to 5 and attack and defense of 10% up to 100% with each attack performed. He also launches 2 additional attacks, each of which has a medium chance of becoming a super attack, and you will launch an additional super attack starting from the turn in which the character performs the 10th attack in battle. So, on average, from the beginning of, if you have another terrifying conqueror's ally, Cooler is going to be firing 4 attacks a turn minimum, not including his hidden potential system, which at 55% is only crit, so you can't include. But Cooler will be firing 4 attacks, which means from the 3rd turn of battle he'll have a guaranteed additional super attack and still have a chance to fire off 2 more super attacks as well. So he can fire 4 to 5 super attacks per turn, and in the 3rd turn, if you get really lucky, he can potentially fire 6 of them. His active skill will greatly raise attack temporarily and cause ultimate damage to the enemy while disabling the enemy's action once within the same turn, and then that can be activated once you have fired 8 attacks during battle. His link skills are Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Universe's Most Malevolent Strongest Clan in Space, Thirst for Conquest, Fierce Battle, and Legendary Power. And then in terms of categories on movie bosses, Transformation Boost, Wicked Bloodline, Terrifying Conquerors, Target Goku, Final Trump Card, Space Traveling Warriors, and Planetary Destruction. So his total boost after performing 10 or more attacks is 300% attack and defense, which is very close to Goku's 311% that he has after he obviously has been hit. But the big thing with Goku is that Goku's defense is a lot more rapidly available with his guarding ability, whereas Cooler definitely takes a little bit of time to get his defense going. Now, Cooler is not a slot 1 unit. A Rainbow Cooler will have a very high defense, but he's still probably not a slot 1 unit. He's not the type of guy that you want to take attacks right off the bat. Cooler will greatly raise defense on his 12 key, so Cooler will really improve his performance over time. So here we have Cooler with double support, 147,000 defense. Remember, he is currently getting 30% defensive support from the Turles and from the Cooler. In terms of links, he only has 2 currently active, and Big Bad Bosses is obviously one of his bigger links, but they'll only ever really be active at link level 10 or in the harder content. Cooler's link set is very, very strong, and it benefits a lot from link leveling, and we'll talk about that just now. But Cooler off the bat, 3.7 million, pretty solid, 147,000 defense. Double support on the rotation. After this attack, Cooler will have increased himself by 10%, but he also will have greatly raised his defense, which means his defense will be sitting at close to the 200k mark, which is pretty decent. It's not fantastic, but it's pretty decent. Cooler looking solid right off the bat. Obviously, in this situation, Ideally, you'd want to link him up with Frieza. Frieza shares 6 links with him, and those links will stay until Frieza hits the final form stage. Once Frieza hits final form, he will lose one of them, but he'll still be holding the majority of the good links. He'll be holding Metamorphosis, Thirst for Conquest. Sorry, he'll drop Metamorphosis. He will still hold Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, Universe Most Malevolent, Strongest Clan in Space, and Fierce Battle. So, Transforming Frieza, great pairing partner for this guy. Another great pairing partner for this guy is obviously the Strength Cooler as well. And of course, the AGL Full Power Frieza is also a pretty good linking partner for this guy. So he's a really, really solid unit overall. Here we can see, again, pretty decent stats. You can see his attack all the way up to 4.5 million now. And that's off firing one super attack. And then he's going to fire a couple more. Unfortunately, Dokkan events are very hard to measure just how good Cooler is, because he's a very offensive orientated unit, and Dokkan events don't traditionally hold up well against those units that kind of throw out huge attacks. But generally speaking, he is very, very solid. Something else that is pretty interesting to take note with Cooler is that Cooler's link set will give him a lot of strength if you link level it. And in terms of his links, he has a very, very good link set. Although limited, a very strong one. Big Bad Bosses will give him 25% attack and defense at full link level when his health is at 100% instead of at 80. Metamorphosis gives him an additional attack and defense at 10%. And Thirst for Conquest gives him an additional 15% defense. Between those 3 links alone, you can get another 50% defense. Not to mention, he has Universe's Most Malevolent, which is a very strong attack link of 20% attack. He has Fierce Battle, and he has Legendary Power and Strongest Clan in Space. This guy can run super duper well alongside a ton of units in Dokkan, especially Frieza and obviously other Cooler based units. But generally speaking, he's just a really, really strong unit that can run really well with a lot of units. He doesn't need his key link. So if you can get him Big Bad Bosses and Thirst for Conquest, you're basically halfway there to his proper build. Because he can have a ridiculous 10 key from his passive. So this guy is very key self-sufficient. He may start off a tiny bit slow, but he'll ramp up very, very quickly. His abilities will get up to speed very quickly, so it won't take him a long amount of time. You may be a little bit scared in the first turn, but as long as you rock him in the second slot, this guy's going to be great. So we got him linked up here with Full Power Frieza. They share 5 links. They do not share Thirst for Conquest, and they do not share the Metamorphosis link, which is the only real shame, because obviously that is quite a bit of defense that's being left on the table. But they do share all the other ones. Universe Most Malevolent, Legendary Power, Fierce Battle, Big Bad Bosses. They share a lot of crucial links, and they make a very, very fun little pairing to use together. Especially if you link level them, they can be a really, really devastating 1-2 punch. So we're making Cooler attack you on purpose. We're allowing Cooler to really build up his attacks here. You can see multiple super attacks occurring at this point, and you can already see how that defense is going to build up. So we're really trying to just get a better idea of Cooler's numbers and how he's built up. So he's fired 4 attacks. Remember, his passive works solely on attacks. It doesn't work on whether they're super attacks or not. So you're going to be seeing, roughly the same from any Cooler. Here we have Cooler obviously floating. You can see 100,000 defense. Obviously that is the effect of links. That's the effect of kind of having everything set up. But it's always going to be interesting to see Cooler in different roles. But he's a very, very high offense, high octane unit. He definitely is about that ability to fire off 4 or 5 super attacks in a turn. And I think the thing with Cooler is when he does do that, he's going to look like the absolute best unit in the game. You can build him full crit, which is fantastic. Full crit is obviously super beneficial. It basically allows you to really just do huge damage, which is very, very important. And Cooler fits under a ton of 200% leads. He fits under Ginyu, he fits under his own. He really has a lot of options comparatively to a lot of other units. You can run him as just an auxiliary pairing in a Ginyu team. You can run him as a main pairing on his own team. Here we can see his defense is already all the way up to 172. He's got 30% support, obviously, from the Jace and Berta, but you can see how Ki is really not an issue for this guy. He's already well above the Ultra super attack level, and he's looking really solid. So yeah, Cooler looking great, looking good stuff, and yeah, looking great. Attack stats also really good. Obviously it will take him a while to build up that defense, and that's kind of what people are concerned about, I guess. But you gotta remember, he does greatly raise his defense on his 12 key. So if he's firing 118 key a turn and then firing, let's say at most 112 key, you're looking, or at minimum I guess 112 key, you're looking at a decent attacks, a decent defensive stat. You're not looking at anything mind-blowing, and it is just raw defense, which I think is always something that can leave people a little bit underwhelmed. But I think, even at 55%, he's really solid. And he's a unit that's going to benefit from link leveling. It's not something you can just disregard. Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, Celestial Conquest. If you have all three of those active, it's 50% defense. If you just have Big Bad Bosses active, it's another 25% to start of turn defense. And you can see here, his defense looking pretty solid. Obviously, you can compare it to the Cooler that didn't stack up his defense as much, and you can see there's a clear difference between the two of them. But yeah, he's starting to look very impressive. Attack stat wise, he completely dominates Goku. 6.4 million, very good. No support, and his passive is one that benefits a lot from support. He's going to take out Raccoon. He's going to take out Raccoon, or Jason Berta, I should say. And now he should be fully built up. That should be the 10 attacks, pretty much, or at least close to it. So yeah, he's looking good. I think the build-up time will take a couple of people by surprise, especially at 55%. I think the build-up time is going to be very kind of how do I say, the build-up time is going to take some people by surprise, because in certain events the events can come out quite hard, like certain red zones. 140k defense is just not going to be enough. But if you can get him through those initial turns, he will dominate. I mean, he had 250k defense, very good. No Big Bad Bosses active or anything like that. 250k. This is a lineup you could very easily run in any event. And yeah, you're going to see him launch a pretty nutty attack stat here. I think he's fully built up at this point. I have seen people show Coolers at 55% with, 300k defense. That is usually with Big Bad Bosses active, with Metamorphosis active as well. But yeah, he's looking good. He's looking really good. Not to mention, remember that he has the ability to launch, even at this stage in the fight, he has the ability to launch 4 super attacks. So he can launch his 18 key and then launch 3 12 keys, totaling a tremendous amount of damage. And yeah, you can build him full crit. That is kind of the big, I want to say, incentive of him. And that's not counting the potential for a hidden potential super attack as well. On a very rare occasion, you are going to see this guy do 5 super attacks in a turn, which is pretty nutty when you think about it. So yeah, I'm pretty impressed with Cooler. I think there's a little bit of a build-up time before you get to see the best version of him, and he does need a little bit more catering than some of the other units. Whereas I think Goku's more out the box impressive. But I think Cooler can very swiftly become much better than Goku, depending on your team build around him. Now, he is fortunate that he falls under the Ginyu Force, like I said, so he's already got a great team with a lot of ki, a lot of support floating around that he'll synergize with quite well. Not in terms of maybe link skills, but just in terms of being able to fit on the team. Secondly, also, we will get quite a few buffs for Wicked Bloodlines coming along the way. There's going to be that EZA for Tech Cooler, which could be something that suits him quite well, maybe a bit of a support passive, or just to fill up his team, his roster basically. Then you also have the ability for Metal Cooler, the AGL one, to get an EZA. They only share 4 links, but it could be another good unit for his team. There's a good tanking option coming for Wicked Bloodlines in the future. So yeah, I think Cooler's good. I like his team. I think he's good. I genuinely think he's quite impressive, and I think he's very simple. Links wise, like I said, he gets a lot of ki, so you don't need links like Strongest Clan in Space, and you can rather just focus on Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses. If you focus on those 2 links, you're getting like 40% right off the bat. And there's not a lot of huge options here, but there are some decent ones. And ones you can make work. Obviously, to get all 3, the Metamorphosis, Big Bad Bosses, or Thirst for Conquest, is very, very limited. Who knows, they might bring out a unit that has that once, say, EZA, the Strength Final, or the Strength Transforming Cooler. He'll obviously have that. That's going to be a huge buff for the team. You've also got, the Cool Laser, or the Cool Laser, which is also a pretty solid option. A unit that, raises defense, greatly raises attack, has 120% attack and defense when performing an attack, high chance of launching an additional super, also beefs up, Fusion or Wicked Bloodline category extreme class allies. Very good unit, not really perfect to run with him, because obviously not a first slot tank, but still a very, very solid, still a very, very, very solid option to run alongside Cooler. Then you've got the Strength Cooler. Obviously, an exceptional unit back in the day, was absolutely tremendous. Still is really, really solid, and can still be a super duper solid unit. Obviously, he links pretty well with Cooler. They share, Strongest Clan in Space, Thirst for Conquest, Big Bad Bosses, and Metamorphosis, which is pretty much every link you need for Cooler, along with the universe's most malevolent and fierce battle. Not to mention, he provides support to Cooler. His EZA will be a huge buff for Cooler, but I just don't see it coming right now. I just can't see it happening. If it does, it's great, but I can't see it happening. But you got lots of options. Full power freezes, they are good options. Just because they don't have Thirst for Conquest, they don't have Metamorphosis, doesn't mean that they're not great options. They're going to give you a lot, and they're going to give you a lot of awesome synergy as well. This Freezer, he's aged a little bit, the Prime Metal one. He's still a really solid unit for a lot of content, just not the absolute endgame. But he does pair pretty well with Cooler. So if you're looking for a free-to-play option, maybe you're a new player and you're looking for someone to run with your new Cooler, there is a Prime Battle one as well. So that's really, really cool. And then like I mentioned before, the Strength Transforming Cooler, obviously a great unit in his own right. Still very usable, just kind of aged a little bit, but he and this Tech Cooler are decent options just to kind of augment your team right now. You're going to see the best Cooler you can with support, but that support is going to be hard to get in super hard content. So I didn't want to overload too much support. We just had 1 support on most of our rotations, because it can be very misleading to have so much support for Cooler. You need your supports to stay alive, and that's always pretty difficult, at least on the face of it. But there's a lot of options. A lot of options for Cooler. Maybe not the best right now, but they definitely can be really, really good options in the future. And you've got some even more interesting ones. You've got like Garlic Jr., for example, falls under Cooler's lead skill. And he is a very, very strong unit. Who also gives support, who also gives recovery of HP. He also does a lot. So just a lot of options. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. And I'll see you next time. Until then, bye.